Hey everyone, it's Kiki from Kiki's Paper Crafts. Welcome back to my channel. I have a tutorial video for you today. I'm working on a mini album for a coworker. Um, I'm using the Echo Park Special Delivery Baby letterboard die to make some embellishments. It is available in special delivery baby boy, special delivery baby girl. I'm using just special delivery baby because that's the one I bought. And I wanted to make these letterboards for each of the pages. And I did these previously on one of the first album that I posted. So I just wanted to go through and take you through my process of making them because the die looks pretty simple, but there's a few steps for it. So when you get that die, you're going to get it four pieces with it. So you get all of the letters, and unfortunately, they don't have the numbers in there. I used a different die that I had gotten off of that I had in my stash. Um, I used this and just used these top numbers and ran it through my machine a couple of times to get 11, 10, 11, and 12 months, or 10, 11 in 1 year. So you're going to get those letters, and then you also get these three pieces. So this piece is going to need to be cut out to make the back portion. So we'll go through it. This makes the back black portion, and then the other portion, the stripes, is where the letters would go. You have to punch the die out there as well. So you'll come up with this, and then you use this die to get it to look like this. And then you have to go back to this die and you'll get whatever you're going to have it, the letterboard like outside be. So you punch that, you're going to get, I used craft paper. So it would just be like normal craft paper. But then you're going to use this die to punch out the center part. And so then that gives you this. And then you end up with a bunch of these little pieces that you can save or trash, recycle, whatever you'd like to do. And then when you punch out this one, you end up with all of these over here. So you can do what you'd like with these. I just have them over there right now because my recycling bin is full, and I just want to finish. I like to finish an album before I put it in the outside bin for the road. So I wanted to go through each of these steps with you. I went through and I die cut out everything that I needed. So I'm doing all of the months. And so with it being either 11 months in 1 year or just 12 months, you are going to end up using this base die 36 times, I think. I think we run it through 36 times. So 12 of these backgrounds, you run it through to get 12 of the center portions, and then you're going to run it through to get 12 of these. And then you run them through again in each of their respective dies to get what you want. So I think at the end of it, it's like 52 times that you're running through your machine. I obviously only bought one die set, so it's not like I can run through multiples of them, but it didn't take that long. I was able to run it through all of those, and then I also did all of the letters, and because you only get one of these, luckily you're not using one letter twice, so you do have to run it through another 12 times to get months over and over and over again. I don't quite know, because I haven't done it, how it would work if you spelled out the actual number for the months, and how much space there is. Because as you can see here, with it just saying month, there's enough room on each side. But when you get down to where it says months, it's getting pretty tight. And I don't know if you'd be able to get to 11 and 12. It just feels like that would be too much. Maybe 1 through 6, 7 might be iffy, 8, 9 would be fine, 10 obviously would be fine, but after that, then it might be a little bit tight and not fit. So we're just going to go through and have my glue filled up, and I have over here on the side, you can kind of see it. I have everything kind of zoomed in, so I tend to work pretty close, so we'll see how I do with being further away. But I have months set up in advance, and then up here off camera, I have a jumble of letters to do 10, 11, and 1 year. So I'll go through, I have my glue refilled, and the first thing I do is bring out my black or the background. You can do these in any color you like. This is just what I figured out works for me. This is basil paper. This is just Amazon cardstock. And then this is Michael's heavy duty cardstock. So the first thing I do is I start out here, and I'm going to run glue on all of the 4 sides, and hopefully if my bottle has, there was a pin in it, so I'm not worried about that, but there is like a little ring around there. So I'll get that off. We're going to run glue on the outside. Uh-oh. It might be a little bit stuck. Okay, so I had to unstick my glue. I have noticed in my videos when I've been editing and posting them that my camera is hooked up to my table, so sometimes it gets a little bit shaky, so I'm going to try and watch that. But we're going to run glue along the outside here, around all 4 edges. And it shouldn't matter too much about how far down you get it. It doesn't bother me any. And then I very lightly go in the center here, and I'm not very careful about getting it, making sure it's like a clean line or anything. It'll move where it needs to move when I straighten it up. So then we go down here and I line it up, and then I'll make sure that it's lined up, because sometimes it's a little bit off, but it moves when your glue is still wet. So, and then I run my bone folder. This is just a We Are Memories Keeper one, over the edges and the center pieces to make sure that they're all the way down. And they don't really pop up. The glue goes where it needs to go. And then I don't worry too much. It never really seeps out very much. But if there's any part that you're worried about, you can just run something over it. Either I just used tweezers. And then the next part is we're going to cover it with the over piece. And this one's easier. It's just getting all 4 sides, because you don't have to worry about the center of it. And then we'll lay that down and make sure that I'm not knocking off my months over here. And if it's a little off kilter, it moves ever so slightly because the glue doesn't cure right away. And then I just run my bone folder over the edges. The hard part doesn't come in until we get to the letters. This is all really easy. And so what I've been doing is setting this aside and letting it dry, because the part that we do after that is we have to ink the edges. So I'll just use this as an example. But you can see this one hasn't been inked yet, and this one I did ink. So I set this aside and I will do the rest of these with you. And then the ones that I did ink, we'll do the months on. So once you get into a place where it's just kind of an assembly line, it gets pretty easy. Normally I'm doing this all the way up at my face. All right, so this one went a little off kilter, but that's okay because it moves the way you need it to. And then we'll run this over it. And I'm never too worried about um, any of the glue that spills out. It dries clear and it's not much of a hassle. You don't really notice it at all once the whole thing's put together, or at least I don't. And I'm pretty particular about everything. So if I don't think anybody else will. The one thing I have a couple of different die cutting machines that I use. When Joann went out of business, I was able to get a couple of different ones on sale. And one of them, I believe it's the We Are Memory Keeper. I can't remember what it's called. Revolution, I think. And I tried to use that one with the with this die, and everything went fine except for I think the cardstock that I was using was too much for uh, for this portion because it's very thick, heavy duty cardstock, and so it wouldn't punch out entirely. But I switched to the Sizzix Big Shot Plus, and using that one, I ran it through a couple of times. And when you do that, you'll notice that you get, because the dies, the way that they shift inside the machine when you run through it, um, you'll notice that you'll get like little hairs, like little paper pieces coming off. And I've never had anything be a real issue with that. It's really just an aesthetic thing. But if that does bother you, there are a couple of things that you can do. I just use like an X-Acto knife, and if it did bother you, could just go off the edge here and fix that. But it hasn't been anything that I've felt the need to change, and I know it happens to more than just me. All right, we've got this last one to finish and then one more. I don't know what everybody else is planning crafting wise, I am hopefully going to finish this album this week. That's been the plan. And then I wanted to get into like seasonal crafting. So I need to do some Christmas cards. My dad has requested some Christmas cards, and so I need to make some of those for him. And then, but I do also want to do some Halloween things as well, and just get some seasonal stuff done. Something different that I haven't been doing because I've been working on albums for a bit, and so I'd like to try something else. And then I can post those when I've finished them. And I do still have a tutorial to get up for another album project share, the Disney album project share that I, at the time that I'm filming this, haven't posted, but by the time you're seeing it, will have posted. So I have I need to make a tutorial for that album. And I was not on screen, I don't think. And then, I have another album that I need to make for another coworker. So there are some projects in the works. And then I wanted to also just do some different things. I have a couple of different ideas for not albums that I could make, but I wanted to have a laminator. And so I wanted to try laminating a little book or traveler's notebook laminated. And I have paper that I got from my stash that was from an Echo Park like mystery box that is smiley faces and just very happy. And I thought that would be a good paper to try that project with. I don't know when that will be done, but that's on the list. I have a list in my phone of things that I want to make, albums and whatnot that I want to make in the future. And then sometimes a project will get slotted in where least expected. All right, so those are all done. We'll move on to the difficult bit, which is the months. I use tweezers for that. And luckily, once I do one, I kind of have an idea of how to do the other ones. So you can see that, look at a couple in here. The numbers, they're fairly centered. And then they go on the second and third line, and then the months go on the one below that. And it just depends on how big the actual number is, but that's kind of the idea. It's just making sure that the spacing is good. But once I get one done, then the rest kind of fall into place. So I do use tweezers for this. So we'll start with 5 months. And I just put little dots, very little dots on here, mostly because they're not going to all touch. So I don't know where they're going to fall. And then luckily, because the glue is still wet and doesn't cure right away, I still have time to, if I needed to fuss with it, I can fuss with it. The part that you're going to notice where the little, if I can get it to focus. Come on, focus. So this has more of those little feelers on it, that the parts where the paper is coming off. You can really tell on this one. There it is. This one was pretty, had little pieces coming off of it. Once you get it onto your board, it should be easy to get it off, if that bothered you. So these do take a little bit of time to get all of the letters on there. They're taking me a little bit longer on camera just because when I'm working not on camera, I will have this lifted off of the table and pretty much in my face. There we go. It might look a little disheveled. I think it's fine. I guess this is a tutorial and a craft with me. So it really just depends on where you place this letter and how far you place them apart to make sure that your last letter is going to be able to fit on. So trying to keep this one as far left if you need to as possible, and then knowing how big each of your other letters are. So on here, I want to zoom it in a bit. Hopefully you'll be able to see. I don't know if it's coming through very well, but on this N, there's a little bit of extra paper. I can't even really see it on camera, but I don't have the best angle for it. But I can't see it up close until I'm up close. So it shouldn't hurt anything if you don't do anything with that. But you also could try and remove it if you need to. I'm going to run through, I don't know how much, I use my phone to film. I don't know how much space there is on it to make sure that I'm able to get all of this in one video. So what I'm going to do, here. What I'm going to do is show you how I do the inking for the letter boards before I put the letters on them, because once the letters are on them, because they are so, I used cream colored paper. I ordered it from Amazon. It's 110-pound cardstock. It's supposed to be white. I have other paper that I was using. It's for the album that I was making at that time. It was white. And this is more of like a cream white, or I don't know if I call it off white, but it's more like, it has more yellow tone to it. So I did use that for the letters, and it came across as very white on the dark background. But if I was to do this on when the letters and numbers are already on it, it could end up getting on them. So I do it beforehand, and I use a finger sponge, and then I use the Distress Oxide Vintage Photo by Tim Holtz. I have other ones, but I do like the Vintage Photo for this. I've also used this exact technique on this exact paper to make cookies. I have a cookie die, and I've used it at Christmas time to shade the cookies so they look like they're already baked. So it's really simple. I just run it over this, and then you can tap it off if you want to, and knock off a little bit of it so it's not so harsh in one area. And then I just run along the side. I'm gonna shake the camera. I'm going to try and do this away from the table. So I just run it on the side here, and you can do it this way. You can do it just rubbing it like that. Just anything to give it a little bit of color so it's not just a little bit more dimension. If I can do a couple in a row, hitting it on the ink pad just once, and that gives it just a little bit of dimension. And then it gets added to the pile on the bottom to dry over on the side of my assembly line. So we'll do another one. I'm not going to dip it again. I shouldn't need to. You can do it this way, and there. So it gives it just a little bit of color and dimension, so it's not just flat. I'm going to run through and film as much of putting the months together, and I might include it, I might not, who knows. I might end up having space on the card gone, but I will piece together what I need to if I need to. I'm going to come back when all of these are finished, and I have to go let the dogs in. I'm going to come back when all of these are finished, and then you can see the final product. You have a good idea already, but I will be back. All right, I am back, and I have finished putting together all of the letter boards with all of the months. So I will link everything down below, and you can go and check out the Echo Park letterboard die and see if it's something that you want to add to your collection. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.